Bienvenidos a otro episodio de Las Paleteras, y'all. I'm Sheila.
Y yo soy Jose Richard, alias Nalgona. Y este es el podcast donde una viene, se ríe, donde se llora y a donde a veces se prende. Y si eres como yo, también te prendes, babe. I know the things that we be disclosing here.
Yes. Well, today we are so excited. We're having an episode all about food. So as immigrants, as children of immigrants, I think that food really holds an extra place in our heart because in a lot of ways, it's one of the ways that we keep our cultures alive, especially in our adopted countries. Traditions, food traditions are threads that link our generations through the memories and the stories that we carry. I know folks that are, fourth generation Mexican and don't speak Spanish anymore, but they still make tamales every year. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really beautiful how the role that food has in our culture. And today we're really excited because we have a very special guest for this conversation. We have Karla Tatiana Vasquez. She's a James Beard Award-nominated food writer and author based here in Los Angeles, who really does it all when it comes to everything food-related. So thank you so much for being on Las Paleteras.
Yes. Gracias. Happy to be here.
Yes. So I want to read a little bit more about you. So I'm going to read a little bit more of your bio. So her debut, the SalviSoul Cookbook, is the first Salvadorian cookbook traditionally published in U.S. history. ¿Podemos darle un aplauso a esto? Incredible, and I can't believe it took that long, but how special that your book is that.
Yes.
Increíble.
It's super, super increíble, a little bit absurdo too.
Right, exactly.
It took an enormous amount of time to see it done.
Yeah, well, we're excited to hear more about that. Your writing has appeared in the Los Angeles Times, San Francisco Chronicle, and Teen Vogue, and your recipes have been featured in Food and Wine, Serious Eats, BuzzFeed Tasty, and Tastemade. You are also the host and executive producer of Salvi Los Angeles, an original docuseries exploring Salvadoran culture and community in Los Angeles. You're also a longtime food justice advocate. You have worked with Hunger Action in LA and the Los Angeles Food Policy Council to increase healthy food access in low-income communities. You founded SalviSoul to preserve your family's recipes, and it's now a growing platform dedicated to cultural memory and intergenerational healing. I love that with the Salvadorian diaspora.
Yes.
Increíble. Is there anything else that you would share with our audience that describes a little bit about who you are?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think, immediately, to be very honest with you, I'm really trying to be someone that leans into more play. I think that immigrants often have a heavy load of be the best, do the best. Eres lo mejor, you kind of have to be. And I hope that, when I'm 80, I can say, whatever she did, she had fun. She played well.
Yeah.
And that was all she needed to be good at. So I want that, because play is hard for folks who are in a healing journey, because there's just enormous emotional pain you're processing, and you're constantly trying to just, catch up to the parts of you to understand what you've been through, what's happened to you, and yeah.
I love that. I love how you right away went there, because that's what we do here in Las Paleteras. And I think it's interesting that you say that play can be hard for people that are healing, when it also feels like play should be so integral to healing, ¿verdad? Like healing doesn't always have to feel so hard, and it is. Tell me what you thought about.
I'm just laughing because I was like, maybe I'm healed because I'd be out here playing with these men's hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but I do love that. But I guess what comes to mind, yes, play should be so integral, and I think particularly as adults, there's a moment where we forget to play.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, we call that physical activities now, but of course there's so much not stigma, but there's so much to unpack when you're like, let's be fit or healthy. But it's like, let's just play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's go to an adult jungle gym. Low key, that should be an outing.
Yes.
I mean, in some ways, these CrossFit gyms are those jungle gyms, But I think that even as a child, para serte completamente honesta, I had a hard time playing that. And the one of the things that I wrote in the book, in the introduction, that I felt like this has no place in a cookbook, but it's where I wanted to go. And thankfully, my agent was very kind and very, supportive and nurturing in that way,
nurturing.
where she just said, write what comes, you know? And there's a memory of my grandmother worked in a sweatshop.
Yeah.
And I went to the school that I went to for elementary because the sweatshop was across the street.
Yeah.
And that was like the unofficial daycare was, you know, waiting while my grandmother was working, and era costurera. So her job was to just cut the loose threads of these big sheets of fabric.
Yeah.
And I remember taking the loose threads and making these makeshift wigs and putting them on these like rolls of the spun thread and making little dolls out of it. And that was playtime, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just associate my Mama Lucy with creating spaces to play. And like if we're going there, I think play always has to do with safety.
Yeah.
And you can't heal if you're not playing, but you can't play if you don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, then it takes a whole level of awareness of yourself, of your environment, of those around you. And that's a lot of work, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like play and creating those pockets of access to understanding what's happened to you, using play in that is very helpful. And I think for me, the kitchen is a playroom, a playground, you know.
Yeah. There's so much richness to the work that you do, from food advocacy to now the storytelling workshops that you're doing. I'm really, really excited to get into all of it. But we love to ask our guests one first question on Las Paleteras, which is, what is your favorite? If you could be a paleta flavor, what would it be and why?
Oh, I think I am between two. Okay. Can I say the two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So one would be a tamarindo flavor, because I love sour, tangy, kind of in-your-face, punchy flavors. Salvadoran cuisine is also very much into the sour, into the more tart flavors. And then I would love the leche quemada. Amo ese flavor. Porque it's milk, it's ice cream based, but the smokiness just kind of, it's giving more than just leche and sweetness. So I like
Yo he probado leche quemada también, bro. De esos vatos que no se bañan. Ay, no.
that.
Es cierto.
No two are the same. That's
The two
for
are the
sure.
same.
Yeah, that's it. I love
Two
it.
opposing things can be true.
Yeah, it needs to be true.
¿Cómo se llama esto? Oxymoron.
Oxymoron.
I know. Jokes on that.
So those would be the ones.
Beautiful.
That,
Thank you.
You know what? No, but on the real though, I've never heard of leche quemada, girl.
No.
No, I don't think so.
Y dices que eres de Los Ángeles.
Pero leche quemada, ¿de dónde, girl? But I'm from South Central, girl. I didn't know leche quemada.
Exactly.
I ate Jamaican jerk chicken.
Okay. La
Michoacana
Michoacana
has leche quemada.
It has leche quemada. That's like their #1 bestseller.
Wow.
Really?
Yes. Mira, I know you've had a lot of paletas this weekend, but don't start next week without that.
It's because I'm
Okay,
not a
there you go.
sweets
Tienes tarea.
person.
Tienes tarea on that.
I've never been a sweets person. Por eso I don't know the flavor. I've eaten more paletas here than I think my whole life.
I believe that.
Because I'm not, like you said, tamarindo, I definitely love the tart
Yes.
of it all. Like,
Yeah.
for like nances.
Yes,
And,
yes.
Yeah, fun.
What are nances? Is that like nanchis? Is that the same thing?
Nances are a little fruit
they're
that
little
have,
fruit. They're green.
if you think of an olive that is close to it, the pit is quite large and the fruit
It's
is very
really
minuscule.
small.
I think it's what I think
But
of as
it's
nan.
delicious.
I thought it was nan. My grandmother always said nan. You said nanchis. Is that the same thing?
It
I'm gonna have to
could
look
be.
this up.
It
But
could be.
because then we have another one that it's like a peachy one. ¿Cómo se llama esas?
Is it the one that's green and you crack it and then it's,
No, that's the nance. Pero the yellow one that has the black pit.
that's a nance?
That
You might be thinking mamoncillos.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There you go. We're having a little education moment.
It's
Right?
because this.
Those are delicious.
Well, being bicultural, it gets so
Yeah.
fucking confusing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we have the. That's why I'm like, are we talking about? We might be talking about the,
But the same thing.
Pero tenemos otro nombre.
And I was like,
Right.
espérate, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So I wanted to take it back and start us with like, what are some of our, earliest memories with food? What do you first remember? Is it like a dish that you remember or an early experience in the kitchen with a abuelita, mom, parent, anyone else? Do y'all remember like your first food memory?
Kind of, sort of.
First food
Kind of,
experience?
sort of. I think one of the earliest memories I have is, one of the most richest fun times in my life was when I still had my great grandmother, my abuela, and my mom, and we'd watch novelas.
Yeah.
And the snack que siempre alguien traía was either shredded carrots or onion or a cucumber con limón y sal. And
Cute.
I loved, like, this is how I know that, they always say, like, oh, these cultural foods are Latino foodways or so unhealthy. And I'm like, I was raised on eating pickled red onions while watching TV, like shredded carrots while watching TV, watching my novela and eating it. And that was just
Hashtag probiotics.
Yes, I loved eating that. I just was like, I couldn't get the zippy flavor of it. It was just really addicting for me as a kid. I think I hurt my enamel, like, for real.
We were talking about this
really
yesterday.
resonate with it. I definitely ate pepinos, zanahorias con limón y sal. It was a snack for sure in my household. But I specifically remember I got really into literally cortando un limón por la mitad, poniéndole sal, walking around the house, sucking on it. For years, hasta que me empezaron a doler los dientes. Like, and I had to stop, and now I can't do it because it hurts my teeth.
Yeah, I mean, what was that? Oh no, I was talking about that funny yesterday, but since I quit smoking cigarettes, I still have the oral fixation, and so sometimes I was like biting lemon until my mom was like, "Don't do that, you're gonna hurt your teeth." So I had to make lemon tea. But there's something about the flavor that it just helps with the oral fixation. But I was gonna say, one of my first memories, I mean, there's so many, but I feel like the thing that's most prominent to me, at least, is growing up bicultural, because I grew up in a predominantly Salvadoran household. My father's Salvadorian, both my stepfather and biological father. So I always make a joke with my mom, like, girl, le gustó el camote, lo probó y le gustó.
She's got a type.
She got a type. But I remember, like, that... I don't know if it's like a Latino thing, but like definitely that little meal right after school, but before dinner.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that was always a meal. My mom made Mexican food.
Yeah.
And so it was her way of ensuring that we also grew up Mexican by having like a Mexican paladar. And so it was like Salvadorian food and Mexican food at the same time, and having to like also... I mean, it's the theme of the episode, right? Like, I got to be bicultural because I got to experience both foods and to learn what that was and all that fun stuff. But the memory that comes to mind a lot for me is I always enjoyed washing dishes. Like, I know. So, like, me in the kitchen, I remember being 5 years old, grabbing a chair, putting it up against the sink, and washing dishes.
Yeah.
And my mom is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Lavando los trastes." But that was like my thing, and I vividly remember like putting up a chair up against to wash dishes. So I've always enjoyed washing dishes.
That has never been my experience. Can't relate. But the thing that I would be like, no, this is my chore. Step off. Like this is something I do. Folding the clothes.
Really? Why? Because maybe it's why I wash dishes.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a self-soothing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, I can see the dishes, the sounds of it. Water is very tranquil. But like, I loved like the sound of like just hands. Like sometimes when I can't fall asleep, I'll literally just do this and I can hear this like sound. It's soothing. Yeah. And it's like a yeah, and I
guess the Marvin.
Yeah, no, for real.
For that, follow us on Patreon.
For real, like that was the thing. I loved it. And my mom would always be like, "Karla, te tardas so long."
But you were enjoying it.
Yeah, let me have this. I loved it.
No, I was definitely I enjoyed washing dishes.
Really?
I couldn't.
Yeah. La ropa, no, like, it's my least favorite thing to do ever. I can't do it.
Even now, I feel cranky if I'm like, I gotta rush putting the clothes away.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I gotta.
Girl, I mean, these little things is so funny how we are such a product of like our childhood, because we have a dishwasher. I still wash the dishes, girl. I'm like, yo ni sé usar esta cosa. Literally yesterday I thought about asking my roommate, like, can we like talk about the dishwasher etiquette? I mean, not etiquette, but like, what are our approaches?
Yeah.
Because I don't use that. I've never had one, and it's there. And I've lived in this apartment now for like 2 years. Girl, I still wash dishes.
Yeah.
Es que me ayuda.
Yeah. I feel
It's
that.
the sound.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good to be in your body, you know, when you're doing things, you know. And, you know, I was just watching a video about so much of our survival mechanisms as humans is when you add friction to your life. It makes us better humans because we are physically doing hard things that sets us up to do even bigger and harder things. So like washing the dishes, your brain is just like, I'm doing a hard thing, and I'm being good at it, and I'm finishing it, and I'm doing such a good job, you know.
I'm like, the next hard thing after that is ir a lavar al río, güey.
I know, yeah, for real. But I think it's part of our like just the human experience
100%.
on Earth, you know.
Sometimes I think I don't know how we got here. I'm so sorry.
You know, that's what happens.
Food, right? I mean,
Yeah,
food.
washing dishes, you wash dishes.
Dishes. But I was gonna say, like, I think sometimes we forget when you strip away identity politics that we're just fucking little organisms.
Yeah.
Figuring out what we are. Like, we're the aliens of this planet. You know what I mean? And so, to your point, it is so true to be in the body. And I don't know, maybe. I've been sober now for the last couple of months, and because of that, I started doing more physical things. To your point of, I wanted to be back in my body.
Yeah.
But what's happening now is I have a different relationship with food. Like now, it's very utilitarian. Like I'm just eating because I'm hungry. Like I don't. O sea, los antojos no son como antes. Like I don't feel like I'm realizing now that I think I overate out of anxiety and like hoarder culture. Being a child of immigrants, right? Like come ahorita porque no sabemos cuándo haber comido otra vez. But our parents never telling us that. So now I think I have I know when I'm hungry versus I know when I'm full, and I also know cuando me pase.
Yeah.
And that's been such an interesting experience.
Because you feel like before you weren't connected to that.
I wasn't connected. Like my gastrointestinal system was not connected to my mind.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
That connection is so.
It's so like
powerful.
that gut, like the gut mind that they call it, right? Like your intuition, but also just understanding food and probiotics and maybe it is as a product of being a child of immigrants that it's like you kind of disconnect that relationship and having to rebuild it as an adult.
Yeah, well, the thing that I think is so interesting about what you're saying, and you know, in your journey of making these decisions for yourself, and in the work I do, is so much of food. Yes, it's cultural. Yes, we need it for nourishment and utilitarian purposes, but food is really a way for us to understand the world we live in. And we're constantly like, I eat tortillas because it gives me an understanding of where my family is from. I eat kale because it gives me an understanding of like how my body works, you know, like, and it's of course the function of it works that way because food is of the earth, and it gives you kind of like, te ubicas, you know, you understand yourself, you understand what you have to do for whatever the circumstance is. And I think for food storytelling, when you unpack the story of an ingredient, like you unpack the story of how you became, the meanings can be really profound, and the places you go to can be really deeply rooted because you are, I don't know, you're giving yourself a chance to know more, to know food is so much more than what we chew, you know, it's so much more than what we bring to a party. It's understandings, it's agreements we make with our social circles, you know. I don't know, it has such an impact. And to me, it's so very much the truth that it's given me so much understanding about my own purpose, how I walk this earth, what I'm here to do, the hospitality I can give, all of those things.
Yeah. Wow, so many beautiful things. I mean, I'm taking so much with what you just said. I think what one thing that's sticking with me is thinking about when we're eating food, how it represents a connection to the world around us. So how can we be more conscious of like when we're eating, what story is there? So that's making me really think about how I can be more intentional with what I choose to eat, because it all can mean something really different, right? It can be a connection to my family, or it can be a connection to myself and my own body. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and there's a food writer, I can't pronounce her name correctly, Marjan, I believe, but either way, she's from Europe, and she said something really fascinating that I thought was, kind of, I think maybe it's a hot take for some, but she said, I'm really interested in food that's not grandma food. And then she unpacks that, and she says that all of the people who kind of come to this space to food space, the impetus for that, decision to be in food often comes from people who taught us the meaning of food, right?
Yeah.
Your grandmother who taught you a nurturing ability, or someone who taught you about parties and fun and whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And she says, but what if you don't have a grandma? What if you don't have these connections that tell you, like, what is someone who's maybe a third culture kid who's adopted, or like, can they still come to the table because of grandma food? And her point was that we all are trying to understand the world that we're in, and our grandmas kind of give us a cheat code. They're like, you care about this because X, Y, Z. You do this because da, da, da. But if you don't have one, you have to do that work yourself. And that's why being intergenerationally connected really gives us a lot of, I wouldn't say it like this, but it's the word that comes to mind, like a hack to understanding the world.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's just a lot of food for thought about,
Cute.
how, when you think
Karla
about,
said pun.
I know, pun intended. But I feel like when you think about food intellectually in that way, there is just so much. And I mean, I'm constantly thinking about food in recipes, like, even sometimes people, with this being, the first Salvadoran cookbook, I had a lot of pushback from other Latinos, Salvadorans, other Central Americans, a South American person, they were from Chile, said, I was explaining my concept, and they said, bueno, like, that's cute that you're doing it, but people are not interested in Salvadoran cuisine. Yeah, and they said the only cuisines that really El Americano wants to know are Brazilian food, Peruvian food, and Mexican food.
What?
And I mean, I
can't believe they said that to you.
to my face. So there was pushback that I received when the book, when I started kind of talking about the concept and wanting to explore it. And I got it from all kinds of Latinos that you would think, they'd be very supportive. But even entre, nuestra gente, se puede decir, there was immense kind of myths that they were believing, because food is so personal, right? And it expands into the cultural. And sometimes people will say, well, I call my tortilla looks this way, and whatever you make is wrong, and, even thinking this experience that I had with a Chileno who said, Karla, that's cool that you're doing this cookbook, but la persona americana is not going to be interested. They're only going to care in food that's from, Brazil, Peru, and Mexico. And it was kind of like, okay, it was crazy that you're telling me this in this, party that I was at. And all that to say is that there has to be room for all of it, because we are also made up of the same things. And what I like to tell folks is, if you have a pair of sisters that are from the same parents, and you have one named Patricia and you have another one named Becky, if you call Becky Patty, Becky's gonna be pissed off. If you call Patty Becky, she's even more dangerous, right? Like you have, yeah, like you have to kind of. It's about respect.
100%.
It isn't about conquest.
Yeah.
And when we are fighting this, it's called this. You're wrong. It's called that. That's conquest. We need to call it out and say it's about respect. I understand that you want to be seen in how you refer to this ingredient. But this ingredient actually doesn't even belong to any of us. Like, it's of the earth. We're here to take care of it. And the food is just here to give us an understanding of how we walk on this earth, you know?
Gastronomical anthropology.
Yeah, like I really have had to, like, de verdad sin querer, I've had to kind of educate myself and do all these learnings because I felt like I was also someone who was subscribed to these myths myself. Like,
100%.
Yo tenía un gran miedo, un gran ansiedad when I started pitching this book, and I'm like, who the fuck am I to be doing this? Like, I don't know a single person in publishing. I don't know the first thing about how to do a cookbook. Also, the fear I had that people had been saying to me, Salvis, everybody, Karla, there's not enough in Salvadoran food culture to fill a book. There is not enough. Our culture is just la pupusa, ahí quédate.
Girl, what?
Yeah, and these were things that I, as a young professional, was also battling. And, you know, I took my doubts with me and I said, bueno, let's just see. Maybe the worst case scenario is they're right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so what? You're still there.
100%.
Let's just keep going with it, you know?
You know, I think one of the, and again, I'm so grateful to be bicultural, and I think most of that gratitude comes from the food because getting to experience two countries, two cultures, two different genealogies to what you're saying, right? Because there's such different tracing. Like, for example, the first thing I did so I lived in Mexico for 2 years, and the first thing I did when I came back home was go eat pupusas, actually at our friend's place. So that was really, really fun. And to our special guest for today, I have a surprise for y'all this episode. But like the first thing I needed to do was go eat pupusas because I was like, girl, you cannot take that away from me. And to this day, I eat pupusas like tacos. Like, I open up the pupusa y le echo el curtido como si fuera cilantro y la salsa de tomate. And girl, I'm like, I'm both. You can't ask me to choose between soy putaco, como digo allá. Mitad pupusa, mitad taco, pero siempre. That's one of my jokes. But, you know, interestingly enough, I think that there's this really cool series. You've probably seen it. It's called Hog on the High.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes.
And it's basically a gastronomical anthropologist, and it's this man, I think he's also a food writer, food critic maybe, and brings a bunch of other scholars to write about and trace certain ingredients from like the transatlantic slave trade into like food. And like macaroni and cheese was something that was created by like Thomas Jefferson's chef, who was an enslaved man, and soul food, and why people eat chitlins. And it's like, girl, but that's why we also eat cueritos. Like, so thinking particularly about in El Salvador, and you can't, I know it's because our country has done too much to erase blackness in El Salvador, but it's like we eat plátano en camote, which is from Africa. And so it's so like the only other Latinos that I know that eat plátano frito the way I think Central Americans do are Caribbean folks. And it's like, do you not see the... Girl,
no, there's so much, I mean, there's spices that we use in some of these, you know, show-stopping dishes in Salvadoran cuisine that you can trace back to the spice trade, you know, and there's just so much, and one of the beautiful things that I really enjoy about having gone on this journey is that I was able to find the myths. You know, I was afraid, like, what if they're right? Well, it turns out now that I've actually written the book, there's maybe about 5% of what Salvadoran cuisine, even though this is the first book, and even though like I spent 10 years writing it, no más de 5-7% of what the totality of Salvadoran cuisine is here. And I was so afraid. Like when I turned in my manuscript, I was 14,000 words over. my editor said,
many pages is
Karla,
that?
I don't know, girl. I don't
It's a
know.
lot.
I stopped counting at one point. I was like, just get the research
Yeah.
on the page, get the stories on the page.
Yeah.
I was just so, concerned. What if everyone's telling me that Salvadoran food is nothing, that it's not worth writing down, all these XYZ things. And then my editor says, you're 14,000 words over, girl. Like, you have to cut some things out, And then she's like, most people, when they turn in their manuscript, I have to ask them, go back and write a little more porque te faltan. We really gotta clean some stuff up and take some stuff out. There was so much research, recipes that I had to cut, stories I couldn't share, certain sections that they were like, this whole thing out.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, but brevity is the soul of publication, and you have to have something concise, and that's what gets printed, porque si no nunca termina.
Oh, baby, I know for real. So before I ask our next question, usually every time here on Las Paleteras, we do a little paleta break. But since we're honoring you and also like the fact that the Salvi side is like, hoy no somos paleteras, bebé. Hoy somos charamuscas. So we got some charamuscas.
Yay. Oh my goodness.
Where are they from?
Shout out to our friends at La Pupusa DTLA who brought us some charamuscas. Wait, hold on, girl.
A ver, ábrelo.
That's adorable.
And Karla, we would love if you would share with our audience what charamuscas are for folks that might not know.
Yeah, so a charamusca is a frozen treat, much like a paleta, but instead of it being in a mold, you have it inside one of these little bolsitas. And I've been told, because we used to try to make them in the Ziploc bags. Man, you need esta bolsita, porque si no, no sale igual. Yes, but these are, it's very common to find tropical flavors.
What would you say some of the common flavors are?
I mean, definitely, like this looks like it's piña. Definitely an horchata one, pero horchata salvadoreña.
Es diferente.
Yes, yo amo la horchata
Wait, give one for
salvadoreña.
me.
What are the flavors?
Yeah, well,
Maracuyá.
That's
Which one's the
maracuyá.
maracuyá? I love maracuyá.
Ensalada.
ensalada.
Oh, that's ensalada.
This must be
Quiero
ensalada.
maracuyá. A ver.
So ensalada is definitely. Oh,
¿Eso será? ¿O eso será? ¿Cuál será? ¿Eso será maracuyá?
yo creo que esa es igual.
Yeah, it looks the
Déjame
same.
ver. This is so
Oh, and my
adorable.
favorite thing about charamuscas is that you bite them from the bag.
Get it in there.
No sé, pero esta a lo mejor es tamarindo o es de horchata.
¿Y ese cuál es?
That's horchata.
¿Qué tienes tú?
Oh, what is this? A Jamaica.
Oh, espérate.
¿Sí lo encontraste? ¿O no? Otra de esas. Okay. No, it's all good. I'll take it.
Wow, that's delicious.
Oh, thank you. This is so
Yay.
funny.
It's so cute. I love it.
Mm.
Where do you even find that? It's like
¿El carrito?
Yeah, it's so funny.
¿Dónde compraste el
mini
carrito?
carrito. Oh, maybe it's like for a little kid.
That's cute. That's cute. That's cute.
Like at a Toys R Us.
Nalgona, I think you were going to ask Karla a question.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
So,
this is really cold.
I'm curious to ask now. I mean, like even like for example, as I don't know, I just got so excited with the charamusca. You know what I mean? Like it, and again, I go back to like food. It's such an indicator to like. I have a poem that I wrote once because I've never been to El Salvador. We had a whole conversation about this last season. And I think a lot of the reasons why I haven't been to El Salvador is because of the relationship I have with my fathers, who are the Salvadorian ones. And that's a whole daddy issues, hashtag. But the one thing, it's like I may not know El Salvador's volcanoes or forests, but I know the smell of the queso, al escurrirse de la pupusa, the little crusty, el oroco, la charamusca. And it's those moments that it's like they bring me so connected to both countries and to both cultures. All that being said, then born in this country as a first generation American, I'm curious to think how food connects us back to a motherland, but also that at any moment did we acquire an American taste? Like, is there any like American taste or flavor that you think it has incorporated itself in like other like Salvadorian cuisine maybe? And also vice versa, right? Because I feel like la pupusa has gotten very like known. At least in LA, people know pupusas a lot more than just outside the Salvadorian community. which I don't think was the case for us growing up. Not as much, maybe.
I mean, I remember doing some research when I was looking for vintage menus, and I was so curious about the first Salvadoran restaurants in the 80s here, and quickly learning that a lot of those menus were actually Mexican restaurants that had Salvadoran cooks that could cook what you wanted, but they would never get put on a menu.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think about that when it comes to like the relationship we've had in this country. You know, every immigrant group leaves a lasting imprint. You see Italian cuisine, they have 100 years on us, right? Or more. And so much of like Parmesan, you know, French cuisine, like if I say omelet, I don't have to explain to you it's a pancake made out of eggs. You're thinking about your favorite omelet, your favorite brunch place, because it has a certain level of ubiquity. And what is ubiquity? It's a hold of permanence. It's a hold of like, aquí estamos y no nos vamos, you know? And so I think that Salvadoran cuisine as a whole, there's a larger conversation about, well, who gets to play around with the pupusa now, right? Because you see all kinds of interpretations. Should there only be this kind of cheese in it? Should there be only this kind of traditional kind of filling for the pupusa? And as someone who studies these things, I've learned that it's not really my job to say this is right, this is wrong. I'm here to make observations because that is what culturally any of us can do. I can't tell you don't eat this or don't eat that, right? But I think that for most of what I understand about cuisine, you have to come at it with a genuine respect and curiosity. Because that is, I mean, we have, if you go to the corridor, you see some of the people who are, you know, pupuseras, and they have their menus. They're using little shortcuts because they're using, for instance, Prego sauce for their salsas de tomate. They're learning things, like every diaspora makes its innovations. And I think it does take a certain level to see like, I don't know about that versus, oh, wow, I didn't know pupusa could do that. That's so cool. And for me, it's also, you know, we don't speak Latin because it's a dead language. It doesn't change. To be growing means you're constantly changing, and Salvadoran cuisine is going to be changing. I would rather that the people who come to learn about Salvi cuisine learn it from Salvadoran people, because it's slowly, that conversation also is parallel to a cultural appropriation. And also, when we do these innovations, are we doing it for the white gaze? Are we doing it to, you know, are we running gimmicks so that we can survive in this capitalist society that says we have to distinguish ourselves, otherwise nadie va a venir? And those are very hard conversations and hot takes.
No, 100%.
You know?
I was like, because that's another Selena series, girl.
Because I think that, you know, Salvadoran food creators, I have brilliant friends who are doing beautiful things with cuisine, and I'm just so excited because I'm seeing, it's like, you spend some money on like a beautiful garment that, you know, you're just so excited. How many ways can I style this, you know? I think of ingredients that way. How many ways can I style XYZ ingredient? Like, how would it go with this? How would it go with that? But I think that you have to, at least for the kind of cooking and eating I want to do, I want to feel an earnestness that cannot be faked. I want to feel a respect. I want to feel a soulful connection, because I can eat anywhere. I can eat at Whole Foods. I can eat at Trader Joe's. I can eat on La Esquina de, you know, 8th and Grand or whatever. Like, I can eat anywhere. But what I want to do more than anything is have a meaningful time here. We're not here for a long time. Let's make it a good time. And so when you can have eating that feels soulful, that feels connected, that teaches you something about living, now we're having a good time. We're
Yeah.
having a meaningful experience here.
I think one of the things, and thank you for sharing that, this idea of how ingredients can transform and innovate and also become bridges across cultures. And I think that's one thing that I really love about being born and raised in this city, that a lot of people don't really see like the connections across culture. And you start seeing them in innovative foods like, kimchi pupusas. And it's like, girl, I love Korean food
Yes.
and I love Salvadorian food. So like things like kimchi pupusas, or like they be having bulgogi meat in them.
Yes.
I'm like, yo, like that is so much of LA, because I think folks forget like literally that El Salvador corridor is right next to Koreatown. And then you got restaurants, for example, another shout out to another staple here in the city, La Guelaguetza, which is in like an old Korean Chinese food spot. So the architecture is still like Chinese and Asian, but it's like Oaxacan food inside.
Yeah.
And if those aren't like the intersections of what Los Angeles is, I don't know what else is. And funny enough to what we've been saying, that food is the marker of that innovation, of that bridging, of that being able to share across diaspora. And to your point, like it's the ingredients. Like I remember so much también, like my neighbors being from Belize, and they have they use ricotta in their seasoning. And when I saw what it was, I was like, oh girl, it's achote. And we were like, oh shit, y'all use this too. And just like that bonding moment of being like, what you call ricotta, we call achote. And there's that beautiful cross-culture conversation. So I appreciate that, how you're saying that, the ingredients can be molded and formed to also innovate.
Yeah, they can be formed and they can be, expressed in new ways. And I do think it takes a diligent eye to see like which modifications or innovations feel inspired and which ones just feel like they're trying to do something, but to cause some relajo, because that's valid. It takes a lot to be a business surviving, especially right now with food prices the way they are. I don't fault anyone, but I also think that when it comes to knowing a cuisine for what it is, like there's going to be a spectrum, and that's what we get to have when we are stepping into a ubiquitous position in this country. We get to have a spectrum. We get to have choice.
Yeah. Karla, you've shared so many just like gems and I think reflections I think we can all take. And as we think about our connection to food, how we want to experience food. And I want to speak specifically about the book now. What are some of those experiences that led you to really, I feel like you've already alluded to your passion for it, but what led to, starting a career in food and also specifically writing SalviSoul?
Yeah, I think, oh my goodness, I've been in food for, I want to say like 15 or so years.
How did you know, like, what was that thing you're like, this is what I want to...
There was a moment, a very exact moment, I was actually in DC, outside the White House, and I was at a protest for environmental justice with some polar bears. They were mascots that are like, we were protesting a pipeline. And someone said, are you gonna be at the next rally? It's for food justice. And when they said food justice, I felt like I heard my own name. Like it was that visceral of an experience. I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I'd always been very, just inclined to these spaces because of la lucha of my family. I'm a naturalized citizen. There comes a certain set of life experiences that you have to have when you're someone that needs to fight for your documentation in a foreign country. And so I was very active in these spaces, and then I hear food justice, and then I hear about, it's this and this and this, and it's about making sure that people have access to good and healthy food. And I started to think about how my family, the women in my life, were storytellers who constantly had stories about food justice. My Mama Juana, my bisabuela, she was the eldest elder I was able to know, in life, and she would constantly share a story about, cuando no había suficiente, I would go to el árbol de chile para hacer una sopita, y donde come uno, comen dos. Tell me that's not food justice in a nice little slogan, you know?
Yeah.
I will also say that donde come uno, comen dos can also be a culturally manipulative thing to the labor of women, because the ones who are constantly sacrificing are women. So I'm learning that the sides of this multifaceted value. There's a lot of stories that I would hear of, there isn't enough, but somehow we always had enough, right? And so I felt really empowered to think about policies and legislation that help support systems that help take care of people. And I thought, wow, food does all that. Yeah. And then, I've worked on a food app, talking to celebrities and, documenting their recipes and realizing, wow, documenting a good recipe is a time capsule. Yeah. It's like a photograph. It's like how you liked it in that moment, we can recreate it forever, Con tal que the ingredients are the same, and are good, because now they're making jalapenos less spicy now, so that's a whole nother thing, a whole nother food justice issue. But I had all these experiences that were giving me little tools in my tool belt of like the storytelling, the advocacy, the healthy eating, the storytelling, that writing your story down is a part of justice. I had an experience where I did a book tour event, and there was this older man who the whole time he's fixated on me and he's giving me this look that's intense. I don't know that it's like a bad look, but it's just, there's an intensity to it. And he says at the end, we open up for questions, and I'm like, he's gonna ask me a question for sure, I know it.
Yeah.
And he's shy the whole time. Last question, who's the one to ask? This man.
¿Y qué te pregunta?
Y me dice, yo quiero saber. He's like, I want to know why you chose to include this recipe in your book. And he points to tortilla con leche.
Oh, wow.
And tortilla con leche is a recipe that most people don't find important enough to write down, because they don't even consider it a recipe.
Okay.
And it's a very humble dish. Yeah. It's a tortilla recién hecha, salvadoreña, so it's thick. And la desmenuzas, or you crumple it up, or not crumple it up. You tear it, and then you have some hot milk. You boil some milk, and you pour it over that tortilla, and then you finish it with some salt.
Mm-hmm. But it's like those poor dishes.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he had this enormous, like he was saying, you've seen me in a way that no one ever has. I've never seen this documented. This was only ever spoken in the walls of my home. And now you're telling me that this is important.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is when I was researching all these recipes, General Mills has been selling you corn with milk and salt. It's just called Fruit Loops.
Yeah, cereal.
All the cereals out there are corn-based, and there's definitely a little bit of saltiness, because that's what gives you that taste that keeps you coming back for more. We just had the original thing, and we shamed ourselves for knowing it. Yeah. And when we never saw it written down, we assumed it wasn't important. So there he is having this moment in his 60s, or however old he is, and he's like, why did it take you doing all of this for me to know that was important? Do you get me? And so that is a food justice issue to me, is seeing yourself and saying, cómo tu familia se alimentó era algo importante. How your family chose, what they had available to them was meaningful. And it was worth documenting.
Yeah, I'm having a really moment right now as you were sharing this, and it actually made me kind of emotional, because my dad, que descanse en paz, he was one of 7 children. His dad passed when he was 10, so he was raised by a single mother in Mexico City, in the hood in Mexico City, and he would eat, tortillas con crema y con sal. Yeah. And he was the oldest of them, and sometimes he was helping feed his brothers and sisters lo que había in la casa, that was something that he ate and something that he continued to eat when we were growing up with him, and we would eat that and I would see that, and just realizing what that, like, it meant so much more than just, just the food. It's the story. And right now, as you were sharing, I was thinking about my dad doing that, creating with my abuelita, o sea, de nada, but to be able to, help feed his little brothers and sisters, and just thinking about, he absolutely loved food. He loved being creative with food, and that creativity came from him needing to be resourceful as a young boy in Mexico City. So I think right now I was also taken to the connection that I have with my dad, and the things that he taught us to make, and the stories behind that. So I appreciate you sharing
Thank you
this.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
I really feel like so many of us have stories that really are formative, that we don't even realize are there, or that they're so meaningful to us. And I love oral storytelling. I don't think writing things down is meant to replace it. I think it's there to supplement it, because oral storytelling cannot do it alone in some ways, And now we have so many tools digitally, of course. A book, people will often say, well, why do a book when you can find any recipe for free, like online, on YouTube, no se diga, on TikTok, everywhere. And there's a podcast called Everything Cookbooks, I believe, and they had an episode about, like, what do you do with that question, right? And they said, well, it's very easy. Like, if you want to go deep dive into the ocean, you go into YouTube and you say pupusas, you're never going to stop swimming. But if you want to kind of find a home in an oyster, you open a cookbook. And I thought that was so beautiful, because it is a very, like, from the first page of this book, it's a world I'm inviting you to get to know. And, sure, you can supplement any learning with anything. I want you to find out what you like, I encourage people, like, if this recipe isn't quite how your family made it, make your notes in there, and now you have all of that in one place. I mostly just want people to create, to feel connected to themselves, to feel connected to their story, to their roots, to whatever makes you feel grounded in yourself, because life is so hard, and I think when you don't have that groundedness, the difficulty, it feels like the volume goes up,
I have a question, only because we are getting close to the end of the episode.
Yes, tell me.
And we want to do a little bit more rapid fire questions toward the end. But aside from a pupusa, what do you think is another Salvadorian dish that more non-Salvadorians should know about?
Gallo en chicha.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Gallo en chicha is actually a dish that I had never had until I started the research for this book. And it's a dish, when we talk about myths, right? The person who contributed the recipe, I was telling her, what recipe do you want to contribute? She says, I want to do pupusas. I already have someone doing pupusas. That was a whole nother thing, negotiating with a lot of moms. Yeah. So I found ways to move past those difficult conversations. And I said, is there anything else that your family would love that feels so exciting? And she's like, bueno, ahí tengo el gallo en chicha, pero eso es nada. And I'm like, I learned quickly to not push back on how they perceive something and just ask more questions. So I said, well, explain to me what you categorize as nada. And she goes on to describe a dish that takes 5 days, is upwards of 24 different ingredients, and she says it's called gallo en chicha. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what how the lies that we believe are so, we believe, and so she explains to me that this is it's essentially a rooster that you are cooking. You're making a homemade wine you're using all kinds of spices, similarly to the chumpe that we have for the chumpe navideño, the turkey that we cook for holidays. And it was one of the most exciting bites of food that I'd had in a very long time. And the only other place where I'd had it was actually at my friend's restaurant, Popoca, which is the only fine dining Salvadoran restaurant in the US. During the pandemic, they got a 12-page spread in Bon Appetit. They just got onto the Michelin Guide.
Wow.
They're doing beautiful things, and they do a pollo en chicha, because gallo can be a little tricky to source, I'm sure. But it's a dish that it's cooked and it's so tender, and it is meant to be because you're making a wine. It has vinegar, so it tenderizes the meat, because a gallo is tough. And so gallo and chicha, I think, is a very special dish.
Yeah.
And then you didn't ask me for a second one, but I'll tell you.
Please.
I love yuca frita con pepescas.
Yes.
And pepescas are fried anchovies.
Fried anchovies.
And it is so delicious.
Girl, you like that?
Where can we get that? Where can I try that?
Well, that's
From
the
El
thing.
Salvador.
Yeah, but there's a recipe in the book. But you don't. If you see like a platillo de yuca frita, it's usually like chicharrón. And I love chicharrón. It's delicious. But when I had the pepescas, it is salty, and you know. It's so fun because my friend Rie, she's Japanese, and she saw me posting about it. And she's like, girl, we make our soup stock out of those things. What do you call them? I'm like, oh, we call them pepescas. She's like, oh, like that's just, you know, a dried anchovy, a salted anchovy that we use. And it is, if you love, I mean, shrimp chips, you know, like you find those in a lot of Asian cuisine. Grocery stores.
Do you know where you could get them back in the day? Shout out, throwback. If you know, Aliborio, girl.
Look at this connection.
Shout out to Liborio. That's where you could go.
Liborio.
With the Mexican, the Salvi crema.
Yes.
And the nances, literally.
Yes, and all the vendors that were outside.
That's so good.
Y'all, I want to get to you talking a little bit more about your storytelling workshops.
Yes.
So just really quick rapid fire questions. What is your favorite thing to eat right now?
Right now, lo que se me antojó fue camote sancochado con leche. That's my favorite.
Okay.
Like yams or like a plátano sancochado was like my snack.
Yeah.
Just throw it into the microwave con leche. That was my snack.
One thing that I've kind of been fixated on, because I'm really curious of using tofu in a more Salvadoran way, because I feel like tofu is such I love it.
Yeah.
Y me encanta fried, which kind of defeats the purpose of eating tofu sometimes. But I've really been playing around with the recipe of tofu encebollado.
Okay.
And so I've been, So I've been kind of playing around with it, and that's been an ingredient top of mind for me right now, catching me on the spot.
Okay,
but yeah.
Perfect. All right, salados o golosos?
Salado.
Salados.
Me too. Favorite meal of the day, breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
No doubt.
Breakfast.
Breakfast gets me
for
out
dinner.
of bed.
Breakfast, I think I'm always so hopeful at the beginning of each day. So just like very bright. O sea, el cafecito, huevito, fruta, papaya.
Yes.
Plátanos fritos.
Anything, breakfast.
I love a Salvadorian breakfast.
Oh my God, me too.
If I have to choose between a Salvadorian,
No, yo sí.
If I have to choose between a Salvadorian and a Mexican breakfast, I'd probably choose a Salvadorian.
I would as well.
I get that.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Pupuseria Menchita? It's in Filipino town. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But they have both Mexican and Salvadorian food, and I always get the Salvadorian breakfast. Con el quesito, el plátano. ¿Cómo le dicen?
Plátano fritos.
El plátano.
Casamiento.
Yes, casamiento, It's
aguacate.
my favorite. Oh my God, it's so yummy.
Un pan francés.
Are you guys fast
Guava
eaters or
picado.
slow? I know we're like,
Sorry.
I'm gonna have that on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mami.
Do y'all eat fast or slow?
I tried it.
Medium.
Yeah.
Medium speed.
I'm a fast eater, but I want to eat slower. just really thinking about connecting more with the food in each bite?
Yeah, I think I'm probably, I've never been a fast eater.
Yeah.
So I think I'm probably in between medium or slow.
Yeah, I had to eat slower, only because I had friends point out in the beginning of my sobriety that I was speaking very fast, that I was doing things very fast, because I think it was my body withdrawing from seeking something and the ansiedad. So I had to eat slower to model that for my body. And what it then started doing was me being more in tune of like when I was full. Because I think if I was eating too fast, se me pasaba and I'm like too full.
You know, something I've noticed about myself recently was I'm a slow eater because I'm constantly editing my meal. And so what I mean by this is, say I'm eating something, I'm like, oh, didn't I have kimchi in the fridge? Let me see if kimchi will go. And then I'm like, oh, el aguacate. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't salt the tomato. Like, I usually have like a vegetable for breakfast, and if I don't salt my tomato, I'm going back to the kitchen to salt it. So that's probably why I'm slow, because I'm constantly editing.
I love that. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Girl, you would hate me. I'm a bowl food. So I love things that you could just put in a bowl.
No.
And my mom is like, ¿qué estás haciendo? And I'm like, girl, me lo voy a comer todo. That's why a good salpicón, I love it. Yeah, I throw everything in the bowl. That's why I was like, you're gonna hate me.
That's like food sacrilegious right there.
It's like I did the digesting outside the stomach, you know?
You're allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to be wrong.
Two things can be true.
You're allowed to be wrong, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. I do have one last question. I want to know, I want to know if you guys have a favorite food experience that you can call on. And I can share mine.
Favorite food
like just like an eating experience. So mine...
Girl, no.
Okay.
Wrong episode.
I'll start while you guys think of yours. Mine is, after my dad passed away, we did a trip to go to Mexico City, to Querétaro, where he had spent a lot of time growing up. Querétaro is a state in central Mexico. We had a misa for him, and then one of my tia's family members cooked a big just pollo en mole. And so that meal, I love, and that's my favorite dish actually. And I don't know if that's when it became my favorite dish, but I remember really beautiful experiences of eating pollo en mole with my dad in mole negro. And so just like, they made a bunch of it in these really big ollas, and just the experience of all of us eating together in honor of papi. Like, I think that's something that it was just so beautiful. I appreciated the gesture of creating this for us, and so that I think is my favorite experience, and it's my favorite dish too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a memory that came up for me, I've been in the food world, and so when you have friends who, what it takes to kind of be living on the edge of your dream, you always want to support friends, stuff like that. And so when I wrapped Salvi Los Angeles, a docuseries that I wanted to put together, we had the wrap dinner, and I had budgeted out for like a proper wrap dinner. And so everyone who worked on it was just other Salvi creatives, and we went to Chifa, which does a lot of Chino Latino cuisine. And I said to the owner, Rika, I said, I want the whole menu. Give me the whole menu.
Yeah.
And I'd worked so hard to make that budget, to make it, Salvi Los Angeles what we wanted. And any time that I've been able to spend money at places that are friends living their dream, and I get to give my hard-earned money, it just feels so good. Como que le da más sal, más sazón a everything. And Rika looked at me, she's like, no, that's crazy, girl. I'm like, no, but we have worked hard. Yeah. And there's a lot of people on this table, one of everything. And I've been able to do that a few times in my life, and it's such a joy to do, especially when it can be at someone who's like, they've got skin in the game. And it feels just a thrilling way to eat that goes más allá.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Nangona, is there anything you'd like to share?
I would just say in general, the recalentado.
Oh,
I
sure.
love it, regardless of what it is. But there's just something so beautiful about being able to come back and reconnect after whatever event. Was it the wedding? Was it the bautizo? Or nomás nos sobró comida? Like, come back for the recalentado. It's so fun. Particularly, I think the one that came to mind was when we went to my cousin's quinceañera in Texas. This is my Mexican side. And like the day after, we went back to my tia's house and they were making carnitas en el caso. I mean, it was a whole day thing because very Michoacán. And then just to get like the carnitas out and throw them out there, cada quien llegaba con su tortilla y su taco. Like there was no formality. That was so fun. And just I think in general, I think about the other recalentado that comes to mind quickly. Friend got married in Europe. He's Norwegian. She's Spanish. And I was there for an extra day. And I was like, what do you mean there's no recalentado? They were like, what's that? Girl, we're meeting up for a meal the next day. And I sure enough got like them and some Germans and other international folks that stayed for the wedding. And we just went to go have a meal at the marina in Malaga. And I was like, recalentado. So it wasn't like a recalentado, but the gesture of it and what it means to come back. To share a meal.
Yes, because even in like a work setting, we have a debrief.
Right.
What you mean we're not gonna debrief?
Girl, did you see what you were doing last night?
Yes. Como que no? Like
¿No viste a la tía de la novia?
El chisme, we say chambre. I love what Peruvians call it.
What they call it?
El cuchicheo.
El cuchicheo, baby. Ayer me
chambre,
cuchicheo.
el cuchicheo.
I'm gonna take about it.
No,
cuchicheo.
We're gonna sit down.
In Puerto Rico, el bochinche.
See?
Those are all great words.
I believe that the ch sound, when you think of the etymology, that must be some indigenous ass shit. Because, I mean, el chambre, el chisme, bochinche, el cuchicheo. Girl, we were out here We're gonna get sued for that.
So I want to end, you recently created Híjole y Café. Yes, it's a food storytelling workshops, and I think you shared a really powerful reason behind the creation of these. One reason was to really kind of challenge this culture of consumerism that has been ingrained in us and reminding us that we are creators. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about that and maybe leave the audience with an exercise that they can do at home.
Yes, so much of what I've learned is in this book. But there's so much else that, were lessons that I gained along this journey that I've noticed made me a more resilient creator. And I think, I'm constantly wowed by the brilliance in our community. And then I'm constantly floored by the hurdles that get in the way, and there's so much lament. I feel like ganas no faltan, ideas no faltan. Lo que falta is sometimes el dinero for sure to fund our ideas, but also like an enormous amount of self-belief. And that I think I want to contribute. I want to build a world brick by brick of where I'm actively contributing to sharing the tools in my tool belt with people, because I think that, this world, this society rewards you, gives you a gold star when you're consuming really well. Like, good job, you tried this food, you tried the latest trend, like you downloaded XYZ, you're a good capitalist, good job. But we feel so starved, and we feel it in mi ser, like you feel it when you have not been a creator. And no one's giving out gold stars for that. If anything, you're getting punishment. Like, you're lazy, you didn't get to work, you weren't productive, So I really wanted to create a container for folks to feel, to create a not fast, but an effective and efficient 3-week course where if you feel you've been in a creative rut, if you feel like there's a story you want to get down y no te atreves or you don't have time, it is, 3 90-minute sessions. At the beginning of the class, you may have nothing. You may feel, I have no story to share. I don't lead an interesting life. What could I possibly have to say? By the end of the 3 weeks, you will have pages and pages of a story and other ideas that you will go through. It's really a way to be nurturing with my community. My community gave me the belief to do this book. Sin ellos, my libro. La verdad, no, I couldn't have done it by myself. My voice was actively keeping me from finishing, you know, because of the self-doubt I had. But my community, you know, mis abuelas believed in me. They really showed up for me in that way. And so this is my way of showing up for other creatives. And I think I'm enamored, I'm in love with the idea of our community, of course, has brilliance and great ideas. I just want to see those ideas completed. I know of so many friends, so many people I've interacted here in LA. It's the creative economy. Algo empiezas because of funding or whatever, or work schedules, it never gets finished.
Yeah.
I think that we are denied fulfilling dreams. And that's, in a way, a justice issue. So, so one of the exercises that I often like to start people off in our first session is one that just gets you familiar with being in your body, because you have to be in your body to eat. It's impossible not to. And you kind of alluded to your question earlier, but it's to really, you know, if you want to close your eyes, I have folks close their eyes. So if you want to, I guess you can. We'll do it.
You want to close your eyes? Should we do it?
I'm okay.
It's funny. You asked, like, if you do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. But the offering is, I want you to just go back to the first kind of memorable bite. And I want you to feel your senses. What are you smelling? What are you touching? Is anything about where you feel? Do you feel the sun on your skin? Are you feeling any of the weather around you? And this is just an exercise to really help you connect the ideas that what you're experiencing with food is the experience of life.
Yeah.
And for me, the memory that always comes, and it teaches you, because every immigrant, every person has had so many experiences that your life is an odyssey. If as a storyteller you decide to share the story, oh, well, I was born in this place, in this hospital, on this street, that's not a dynamic story. Nobody wants to hear that. But if I share with you, well, the sun was shining on my skin, my hands were sticky because I couldn't control the juice rolling down my arms, you know, because that was the memory for me, was I am a child and I am trying to eat sandia.
Yeah.
And those were, and I was so careful and I was so anxious about the sandia just getting on my clothes, which tells you there's an anxiety this child has, that they don't feel free to just be messy, you know, which tells you something about me and how I've kind of lived life.
Yeah.
And so it's a real good exercise in actually seeing a mirror of us.
Yeah.
And that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
And also, so many of us want to document our family story. And something I learned through this is you cannot ask someone to give you something that was hard-earned if you are not willing to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
So this workshop is built so that you as a storyteller know what it takes to ask someone to offer a story to you, because how can you appreciate it if you haven't gone through that work yourself?
Yeah.
So it's a way to not be extractive, even if you are, you know, I had so many experiences where people were like, ask my mom about this question, or about her experience crossing La Frontera. And I would ask the mom and she would be very like stiff arm about it. And I realized these are stories meant for family only. And that's good, boundaries. The story always belongs first to the storyteller. Even if it benefits fulano de tal, it doesn't matter. If it harms them, we don't want it.
Yeah.
And you need to learn that boundary for yourself as a creator in anything you do.
Yeah.
Where are your boundaries? Where are you existing? And so, yes, I've designed it in a way that's for anyone who really wants to jumpstart their creativity, but specifically with writing and food.
Karla, well, this has been such a wonderful conversation. I don't know, I feel moved, I feel inspired, I feel like you've expanded some many different things that I've been thinking about food. So I just want to thank you so much for being with us on the show. I would love for you if you want to share with folks, where they can find you, anything that you have coming up.
Yeah. So yes, you can find me on all social media platforms at SalviSoul. And right now I am taking registration signups for the summer cohort of my writing workshop, Híjole y Café, which we start in the middle of June. I don't know when this is going to air, but in the middle of June. And I'm really excited because I'm now offering it for fall and winter. So I have a little wait list for folks because it was something that was, it made quite an impact when I first launched it. And yes, I have cooking classes that are also coming up, virtual cooking classes, and lots of stuff, honestly. But SalviSoul on all accounts.
Beautiful.
And you can also buy the SalviSoul Cookbook, which is took me a long time. So
yes, beautiful. And then special shout out to Pupuseria DTLA. Please try their pan con pollo. It's one of the most popular dishes. And of course the charamuscas as well. Y recuerden, como siempre, que la vida es más sabrosa con nosotras porque somos
Las Charamuscas. Yeah.
Las Paleteras.
Hi, Paletitas. This podcast is produced by Joel and Elpidio Perez, along with your hosts. Las Paleteras is edited by Augusto Martinez, with music by Cintia Morado and Ingrid Guijarro. Special thanks to our friends at Mitu and Sonoro for production support.